Welcome back to Graceful Embroidery and to the second part of this video on this lovely Christmas bauble, and we are making it into, just trying to get in the position, we're going to make it into a machine embroidered card. Now here's another version of it that I stitched out, and I've stitched this out on white felt. And as you can see, I omitted the stars in this particular one. If you've never machine embroidered on felt, then you are missing out on a treat. It is the easiest fabric to stitch on because it doesn't pucker. So only one layer of stabilizer is required. Right, here is the stitch out that we did the other day. I've taken it out of the hoop and I've tidied it up a bit on the back. It's impossible to remove all the stabilizer, and I don't think that you need to be too particular about this. We shall find out when we Now I spent a lot of time looking at three-sided cards and their apertures, and obviously the aperture is very important, and also the colour of the card. Now, let's have a look at these. This is it's an ivory silk, and that one just about fits nicely over there. That's a cream card. Now I've got this white card here, which has got these lovely corners. I mean, those of you who know me know that I don't like white, and I'd much rather this was a little bit more ivory coloured, but I can't be picky. Actually, I've been thinking about this far too much, but I'm going to go for the cream. It makes the whole thing warmer. Right, now what you need, if you've never used one of these, what you have to be aware of is that they fold in a certain direction. Now this one's not too bad, but you can see there's a gap here. So it's probably the case that it's that way round. So that's the front, and it opens up and you put your writing there. So our embroidery needs to go in there. I've prepared a square or a rectangle of batting, which I find if you put it behind your machine embroidery, it just makes it look better, so much better. So this has been pressed on the back, and if we lay it on that batting, we can see how it's going to look when it's finished. And I think that looks perfect. Just be very aware of these stars. I've double secured them, but when you are removing the stabilizer from around those, do pay particular attention and be careful of them. Right, so the magic for this is double-sided tape. Now I've watched videos where people have used heaps of it. I don't tend to use too much, but let's see. Well, I better not leave that on there. Just laid the card on top of my hotfix gun, which is turned on, ready to embellish this. Now, obviously your positioning is important. Just checking the card. Right, I'm going to do it that way. So, open that up, and the embroidery's got to sit here, facing up. I'm just checking. Rather than making this fit exactly inside the aperture, I tend to make it protrude a little bit out. I think it gives it a little bit of a better finish. That's fine. Now, centering this is most important. So, put that there. There's several ways of doing this, and the important thing is to give yourself a few little markers. I'm going to put my double-sided tape on here. Don't worry, I'm not using my fabric scissors for this. These are old scissors that I used to use for fabric, and I now use them for trimming my stabilizer. Right, a ruler and a pencil. I'm going to first of all measure, just give myself a few guidelines as to where the center is of everything is. So, oh, that ruler's not big enough, isn't that typical? Loads of equipment, but nothing that will help. Right, so this is a 6-inch wide card, so I'm going to mark the middle there. And there. Now you've obviously got to be careful where you mark, because you don't want it to show. So our aperture is 6, so that's about there. We'll move that across there. And that one goes there. Right, now we've got to mark the embroidery. I'm going to use the aperture of the card so that I can decide exactly where I want things to be. I think it doesn't matter if this little branch is a little bit tucked away. I think there is probably the best place. So I'm going to take my ruler, mark up there. I've only got a little bit hanging off there. Now to mark this bit, I'm going to put a pin here and lift it up. And I'm using the weave of the silk to help me, holding it firmly in that place. And then I'll just do the same for this side. The first time you do this, it's a tiny bit overwhelming, and it's dreadful if you actually put things on the wrong side. There, that's fine. Doesn't want to mark. Right, put that pin away. Right, so we've got our centre points, except they're on the wrong side. So I'm just going to transfer them over. I'm sure there's a better way of doing these things. And I'm very much aware that every time I do this, I seem to do it differently. Right. So let's mark the middle of this. That's 4.5, so that's 2 1/4. It's 4.5, 2 1/4. That's got to be there. 6, so that one's about there. Right. Four and a half, 2 1/4. Just this one's too short, so I'm just giving it the same bit at the side, at the ends, and that must be about right. So if I join those up, that's about where it wants to be. The hardest bit about this is actually lifting up the sellotape. Sometimes you have a job to find the corner. I'm sure I've done this an easier way. Oh, there we are. That's lined up. You must be saying, what is she doing? But I think, I don't know about you, but you find when it gets to December and we're only a week from Christmas, everything becomes a little bit more stressful and difficult. Peel that one off. I have had some that overlap slightly at the edge and makes it a lot easier, but this one doesn't seem to have that. And of course, because I'm filming, it's even more difficult. Ah, done it. I think, yes. Right, we know that one's in place, and we can stick those down and just quickly take this one up, which I should have done before. Oh dear me. And of course, if you've got to do the ones, if you've overlapped them, it's not a good idea because you can't this was a video on how to do it. Now it's become a video on how not to do it. Right. There we are. Let's see how that looks. Now we've got something on the card. Right. Let's check that we haven't messed it up. We're going to put tape. Let's clear the deck slightly. We're going to put tape on the sides now so that we can and as you saw on that last one, it's a much better idea if you don't do any overlaps. The corners don't matter. Now, if you've got a different card, then that's fine. You can, if necessary, you may have to open a design in your software and play with the elements and move them slightly if that's possible. The main thing is that none of this overlaps the edges. You don't want the tape to I think one of the problems is that my tape is a tiny bit old. Ah. It's a pity they don't mark it one side. Perhaps it would be good for me to mark my tape so that I don't have that issue. Right. Got to think about this. My mind has gone a blank. Right. I'm looking at the weave, and I'm looking at the distance between the top ribbon and the lower ribbon, and it needs to be right on there. I'm sorry, I'm almost on camera. You will sometimes get a tiny bit of distortion with the corners, and you may notice that the weave of your silk has moved slightly. Now we can trim. The main thing is to make sure that nothing is overlapping the edges of the card. I'll just trim that one a bit more. And there is our finished card. We've just got to seal it. Those corners haven't gone as well as sometimes. You obviously could have done it a different way, and as I've done this, I suddenly realised where, I've done it back to front, but whatever works easiest for you. Now we just have to put a little bit more tape on. To close it. So if you're going to make quite a few embroidered cards, make sure you've got plenty of double-sided tape. You don't have to put the batting on, but I think it gives a better finish. We used to have lots. I remember when we had lots of cards that were sort of cushioned in this manner, and I always loved them. So it's quite nice to actually be preparing. If you pick up the wrong corner, it tends to crease the tape a little bit, but don't worry, that doesn't spoil the finished effect. Right, now one more check to make sure that we've got. I'm just going to trim this one. I've got the wrong scissors. Should have bought a little pair over here. Because this is silk dupion, it's likely to fray. There we are. There's our card. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to embellish this. Let's get those scissors out of the way. Here's our little tray, and here's some crystals that I sorted out. Another one there. Right. Now these, we have 3 stars on this design, and one of them, the biggest ones, are open. These little ones here are stitched over, so you can't stick anything on those because they're pretty pronounced with all that overlapping stitches. So I wouldn't suggest that you try and do anything on those ones. But on these open ones, you can stick one like that, or you can put on a more pointed star, which probably works out better. And we have one down here. Now I've got some pearls because the ornament is not decorated. It has these sections, but that's all. So I think let's see what it looks like to give it some. Now everybody's going to want to decorate in a different way. Actually, I don't like that at all. And the problem with this is that you can't put them in the, if you put them in the gaps to the side, you will take away the emphasis of the curve. We're trying to give a curved effect to the bauble, so I don't like that at all. So I think I will just, they wouldn't look right on the ribbon. I'm going to put those back, and you could put them just on the card, which helps fill up the space. That's probably a good idea. And what else have we got here? We got these ruby red ones here, which I think are too red. These prawns are probably too brown. Now what I do, they're quite difficult to get into these stars. Exactly. Sorry, I'm off camera again. And I put the tool on, and then I slowly apply pressure. And I hold them down for about a count of 12 seconds. Sorry if my head's in the way. I'm trying to, the window's behind me, so that I'm in my own light. I think that's about 12. Because I did the detail on the bauble in metallic thread, I think that's sufficient. And if once you started to apply pressure, if it's not quite right, you can move them slightly, but that doesn't look too bad. That for 12. And one final check before these pearls are exactly where I want them to be. I'm going to put two of those little stars on, just to break it up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And as I'm counting, I'm actually increasing the pressure as the glue melts from the heat of the gun. Then you want to keep it well in situ. And I'm going to move this pearl to there. And then I shall swivel the card round and do the ones at the top. Now, if you've not seen this method of attaching before, most people put it on the top of the gun and then tip it over and put it on. I just never got on with that one. And I find this one is just as good, works well for me, and I've been doing it for quite a fair time now. So there is our thing, our card thing. And all I need to do now is write my message to my sister in there. And I make one of these embroidered cards every year for her. I have to confess that this year it took me a long time to just find that design and work on it, so that's why it's a little bit late. But As you watch this, this design is available for you to buy as a single design from Graceful Embroidery, and it's $5. And so if you go to Graceful Embroidery, or you use the links at the bottom of the description underneath this video, you'll be able to go there and purchase this design, and it comes in 3 colorways. One question that you may ask is, can we do this as a plique? I don't think this satin edging around the bauble is sufficient to hold an applique. I didn't want it to be bulky. I didn't want to emphasize the edge, so that's what I decided to do. So I hope that you all have a wonderful Christmas this year, and may I wish you all the best for 2024. I pray that it'll be a happy year and that you'll be able to enjoy lots of moments of creativity with your machine embroidery. So until the new year, when I shall see you again in another video from here at Graceful Embroidery, this is me, Hazel, saying Merry Christmas and thank you for watching. Bye.